National Zionism. This is a re-recording. I've done these videos in three parts, and I've been asked by a couple people to edit them all together and re-record the audio. So that's what this is. So I hope you enjoy, and the information can be heard more clearly without the distorted audio. So here we go. The National Zionists or the Nazis. NAZI. The word Nazi stands for National Zionists. And if you don't think so, watch this video, watch the videos I've done in the past, and it's very apparent that the Nazis were the National Zionists. And at the end of World War II, they got their Israel, they got the CIA, they got NATO, they got the Antarctic Treaty, they got all the things that the National Zionist type people wanted, and they achieved their goals in preparing for the New World Order, which will come directly after the Third World War and the Project Bluebeam operation. So this may be one of the most controversial videos I have done, but when you look at the historical record and question everything, a pattern begins to emerge that cannot be denied. World conflict. The conflicts we are seeing today are directly tied into the Third World War. The Third World War will result in a fully implemented New World Order completely controlled by the Zionist Jews or the satanic elite. That's pretty much fact. We can all see this playing out in real time as we witness world events play out. When the world is destroyed by the Third World War, Project Bluebeam will begin and usher in the full control of the once great Tartaria. The only way to stop this is to identify the real enemy and remove them from power. Now, the BRICS countries, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, Saudi Arabia, seems to be an attempt at removing the controls placed upon us that triggered the First and Second World War, which are the private centralized banking and the use of the petrodollar and the US currency for world trade. So, yeah, this would be the creation of the Federal Reserve banking system and the removal of asset-backed currency or the gold and silver standard. The BRICS countries seems to be trying to re-implement the gold and silver standard, and that is the number one way to remove the Zionist people from power is to take away their debt-based fiat currency. So before World War I and World War II, Jews were mainly associated with Khazaria, which is where modern day Ukraine is, and this is the main reason for the Ukraine war. Protect the homeland of the Jews or the Khazarians, to kill off all of the male uh, the Ukrainian men in war. And then when the blonde haired Ukrainian women are left, the ugly Zionist Jew rat looking people come in, breed with these women, and then you have the continuation of the Aryan, Luciferian Jew kind of people who are the white skinned Aryan Jew people. So here you can see this is where Khazaria was, and on the little circle you can see where Kiev is. So an interesting thing when you understand that the same people are responsible for all of the conflicts over and over and over again as they get kicked out of 107, 108, 109 countries. And now we're getting ready to fully remove them from our entire realm because they cannot stop causing wars and problems. People do not want to hear it, but both of these two are Jewish. They both serve the same master, and it is not God or Jesus Christ. They both have Masonic type connections, Satanism type connections to the occult and rituals, and I mean, a lot of people will say Hitler isn't Jewish, but they all are Jewish. The SS people were Jewish. The Azov battalion people are all Jewish. This is the secrets that Unless you understand the connections to the old world and Tartaria and the mud flood and stuff like that, you're never going to put two and two together. So, when talking about the Nazis, two groups are formed, and we can see this more and more today than ever before. The group that has followed the mainstream narrative of history and proclaimed that the Nazis were bad and that everything the Nazis did was evil and they were the bad guys. Then the number two group identifies that the Jews are a major problem in the world and that Hitler was right. You can see this more and more with the clips on the internet of the pro Nazi kind of people. But when you understand that the Nazis were controlled by these Zionist banking types, it's just a deception that they're going to get you to fall right into. So I am beginning to discover that both groups do not have the full story. The anti Jew groups that think Hitler was right, and the groups that think the Nazis were bad. It's always someone else who's bad. It's never the United States government who is, going in for weapons of mass destruction and stuff, which are all Zionist controlled at the tops of the government. You'll see that more and more as we get into this. But anywhere the NATO countries are the Zionist occupied countries. So in the beginning the wars, it's all caused by economic crashing. Then they do their false flag attacks. They automatically identify who the enemy is. They move in for war, which is just a massive depopulation event where they then consolidate wealth and plan for the next conflict. Now, this moves me to the argument that Hitler and the Nazi SS were working with the controllers, or the Jews, to push the world into further conflict, to change the historical record and obtain a new world order. This is the rewriting of the historical record and the elimination of the old world, Tartaria, the giants, the free energy, all this kind of stuff that the old world contains. So, doing this research and discussing the events of history will cause anyone to question the narratives and the official versions we have been taught or fed throughout our lives. TV and movies being the number one way people have formed the ideas they have. Another way we have been deceived is through the telling of one side of the story that is history. Who delivers the stories we have been told? Who controls the TV and movie industry? Who writes the history books? And who are the people who are always behind the New World Order? It's the same people over and over again. So within the historical record, there has been no mention of Tartaria, the mud flood, the accuracy of biblical events, the mud fossils, the giants, any of these things which would completely um, throw a curveball at the historical record. We're not taught about any of this stuff. All we are taught about is, Christopher Columbus, 1776, and George Washington, the Wild West, slavery, what the white man did to the slaves and to the Indians, and what the Nazis did in World War II seem to be the main focus of our historical record. This is for a very specific reason. It is to control the perception of the people, always painting the white Christian people as the villains and never the white Luciferian Jews, who are actually the ones behind all of these massive historical events of death and depopulation. It's always Jews. They're responsible for the slave trade and owned the slave plantations. And, it's always the Freemasons and the Masonic aspect also control this. And that's how you have to understand that whatever they tell you is never the truth, backed by fact. It is always a story that they then justify by everyone kind of saying the same story, and that is taken as fact when there is actually no fact behind it. So the false history we have been taught is not the truth backed by fact, but is a story of an invading group who changed and augmented our reality or our story to serve a goal that they desire. So if you look at history as a story and focus on the facts, you will learn a few things. America was converted into a corporation due to the Act of 1871. This was the corporatization and privatization of the United States. This is the same time Germany as a country was founded or established. Is this a coincidence or something more? We can assume that a new country would need money getting going, so loans would have been issued. And who runs the corporation of America is most likely the same people who own the government of Germany through the issuing of loans and charging of interest rates. So America was bankrupt after the Civil War, and because of this, America was converted into a corporate entity we know today, using debt and mass slavery of the people to back the fraudulent currency of the corporation. Who runs the banks that control the debt of countries? Are they Jews or Jewish? They always are. But anytime we talk about this specific group, we must be very careful. Just noticing that they are key players in the New World Order game being played on us will get you banned, blocked, suppressed, deleted, or removed from social media. More and more, this is becoming a fact, and the more people notice, the more censorship we have to deal with. So, another interesting thing is Tartaria and the Old World. America and Germany were both a part of the Tartarian Empire or kingdom. My research shows that because of this, wars were fabricated and facilitated to hide all evidence of this. Tartaria was a Christian kingdom founded by the lost 12 tribes Moses led out of the desert. 10 of the 12 tribes became Tartaria, and the other two tribes did not and became Jews or the Khazarians. Pretty much that's how this is all started. Now, since then, kingdoms of Tartaria would be destroyed and knighted kingdoms would be unknighted or united one by one. This is where the term United States and even United Nations comes from. These are kingdoms that have been destroyed and conquered one by one until the kingdom of Tartaria is reimagined into the new world order we have come to know. They are united states, they are united nations, and it's all connecting to the biblical war that we are all right in the middle of. So, war is a cover story to hide the existence of Tartaria and eventually will be deleted from the historical record. All of the art, architecture, technology, and wealth of the once great kingdom would be removed. After the fall of Tartary, the wealth was consolidated, as it is when all wars are fought. Both sides of a conflict are pushed into battle, the population is decreased, and the wealth is stolen. Later, the same money that was stolen is lent back to the people at high interest rates and then consolidated by the same group of bankers. Jews being the main group behind all of this, along with the 13 Illuminati satanic bloodlines or the Illuminati families behind the Great Reset of history and Tartaria. So, why is Germany always a key player in World War? A lot of this has to do with the infrastructure and the ability to build. What's the word I'm looking for? It'll come to me. Before Germany was established, it is known as Prussia, and Prussia was a key player in the Revolutionary War time period in 1776, which was the re evolution of America. This is the same time period in France. Napoleon was key in organizing France after during the Great Reset of history when that took place, and he was a Freemason like George Washington, the hidden hand operatives of the monarchy or the 13 ruling elite families. Founding fathers are connected to the finding of the abandoned cities of the old world. They found these cities. They Some say they cloned large sections of the population in order to get everything back going again. And then, when civilization was at a certain point, they could then rewrite the historical record to serve whatever purpose they needed. So it's a little off subject, but key to understanding Hitler's role in world events and the connection to the Illuminati, Freemasonry, and the occult. All things connects to Jews and the satanic elite, who are the main force behind the New World Order. It is said that the first thing Hitler did when he came into power was take control of the Rothschild banks. This was to hold the gold and remove it from the German people. The same thing was done in Desert Storm when the US invaded Iraq, and the same tactics by the secret societies and groups over and over again. It's a massive game being played where all of the people in charge are all working together to steal the wealth of a country or a nation or a former kingdom. So the wealth of Germany was removed. Where did it go? Same with the wealth of Iraq. Where did it go? The same can be said for the wealth of the South during the Civil War. Where did all that gold go from the South and the North and the gold rush and all of these historical events? Now there's no gold anywhere, and we're all paying $9 for a loaf of bread. So it seems like nations who try to escape the clutches of these banking groups by returning their countries to the gold and silver standard or the asset backed currency are then forced into war due to a false flag operation of some kind. Invasion results in the gold disappearing, and the control of the people is always increased. Now, before 9/11, an economic freedom was due to occur. This could have been a Nasara or Jassara type return to the gold standard and universal prosperity. The towers were hit, the gold was stolen, and war was started with Iraq to again consolidate wealth and kill off the population. Any story told to the public via televisions, weapons of mass destructions, whatever it is, all the people are almost too stupid to look into any of these claims, and we declare war and we go in. The same thing, the Zionist controlled media tells you whatever they want you to believe, and then it is pushed forward by the Zionist occupied government, and there's not really anyone who ever stands up against these people because everyone seems to be in on it. Now, all of these operations are done by the Zionist occupied governments around the world. The Zionists always plant members of secret groups into power to pull the strings of nations. This is also why the need for blackmailing, like on Epstein's Island, which was a Mossad CIA operation to blackmail celebrities, politicians, and those are always the ones who were the most vocal about saving Israel and the whole anti-Trump kind of movement is all these celebrities that have all been blackmailed on these sex trafficking islands. Now, a lot of this would be the Freemasons, the Illuminati members, or like in today's world, the Council on Foreign Relations or World Economic Forum people. All Zionist Jew type people serving in these uh, boards or in these secret societies, and they all serve the same masters controlled by the New World Order. They're always Freemasons, they're always Jews or member of some hidden hand secret group or a satanic type bloodline or some kind of Satanist stuff. So here's a picture of Hitler doing his Masonic handshakes. They're always Masonic and always Jewish, from George Washington to Napoleon Bonaparte to Zelensky to Hitler. They're all the same types of Freemason people. And here you can see the handshakes where they're all doing these handshakes. Trump is seen doing all the handshakes, and he's a Mason and they're all Masons and they're all captains of their own vessels and all this kind of secret stuff, which is getting exposed more than ever. So World War II starts, the wealth is collected. Large portions of the Nazis are said to escape to the other side of the ice wall or New Schwabenland. You can see there by the red arrow is where New Schwabenland is. Hitler moves to Argentina, and the New World Order goals are met. Now, some say this is where the Operation High Jump takes over. I've just done a massive 3.5 hour long documentary that covers after World War II, Operation Paperclip, Operation High Jump, the Roswell crash, and how all of these things are connected to the colonization. Most likely, it's the colonization of lands outside of our terrestrial realm. That's most likely what this new Schwabenland was, is it's not an ice-covered place. It's a nice temperate climate, and they're colonizing. They're building there. That's where all these UFOs are seen coming and going from, are from hidden lands on the other side of this ice wall. Another something to think about when we understand that everything that we have been told is fabrication. So what is really going on here? The underlying thing to be acknowledged is Jews or Zionists pull the strings of nations to get them into conflicts and war. This gets the white Christian population to fight and kill each other and eliminating the descendants of Tartaria. When all the whites are gone, the satanic Jews will reclaim the garden and claim victory on God's actual chosen people, which are the followers of Jesus Christ. So the Rothschild banking families, the 13 Illuminati families, are Jewish. They add in Hitler, and you have Israel. And you look at the genetic markers of Hitler, they all have the same Jewish type genetic markers. And people don't want to see this or hear it because they all love Hitler so much. But he was a Freemason, he was Jewish, and he was working with the controllers the entire time. Nazi is National Zionism. The SS or the Nazi SS were the synagogue of Satan. The Aryan race they're talking about was the Luciferian race, the Aryan white skinned Jewish people. This is how this is fact. You can look this up. Nowhere in the mainstream are they going to tell you this. If you look in Google, they're going to tell you the opposite. Google will also tell you that a man can give birth and have a period, and there's 37 genders, and that we live on a rock flying through space at 66,600 miles per hour. It's all satanic type stuff. And when you understand this and you can see and read through the symbols and symbolism, you will understand it better and better and better. So Hitler's Nazi SS, and the extremely Jewish looking people associated with the Nazi SS. Another thing can be considered is the headquarters of the Nazi SS, known as Wewelsburg Castle, where pagan Jewish satanic rituals and sex magic, as well as gender modification experiments performed by Joseph Mengele and others, would have been the sex change and operations performed on identical twins and other experiments to see if they could invert or switch out the genders or sexes of the descendants of Tartary. That's the number one thing they love with their science, is doing experiments on the people who are the true descendants of the kingdom of Tartary. And these are all Jews at the top doing these experiments. Jews love their science. They all push science, 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 which is Satan, 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 because they're all Jews. Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab, all these people who trust science are all Jewish people. So the pro Hitler groups now raise the argument that the book burnings that the Nazis were doing were the burning of gender books. Now, he could have been covering up the evidence and aiding in the rewriting of history. Never before was this mentioned that Hitler is burning all these gender books, but now all of a sudden it's stated as fact. And this has only started like this year, that the Nazis were really stopping the gender uh, operations that the Jews were doing, and that was one of the reasons Hitler didn't like the Jew. But it's all BS when you understand the players behind the Nazi SS. So if you notice this LGBT flag and you put four of them together, it's not a coincidence that it forms a swastika. It was a well thought out, pre planned thing with their symbolism, And all things associated with these people, you can find the symbols and symbolism that proves who is behind this. The Zionist, National Zionist type people, all pushing the same agendas. This is like the basically things in the Talmud are what the society is basically built around now. And this is also not a coincidence that four of these Masonic aprons put together is also a swastika, because Freemasonry is rooted in Jewish mysticism and Jewish numerology with the 369 system. Everything connects to Zionism and Freemasonry. So, what really happened? After the war, Operation Paperclip was enacted between 1945 and 1959. That was the bringing of all of the Zionist, the evil occultist Jewish SS people, and spreading them out throughout the entire world, forming NATO, and that's where all these people were hidden. Then Operation High Jump in 1946. High Jump was an operation to try to stop large portions of the German population from escaping to New Schwabenland, or it was a colonization operation. We have to think about that. That the the Jews won the war through the funding of the United States, through the Soviet Union, and all these major armies at the top are in on sending all of their people to war where they all kill each other, and then the wealth and debt is consolidated, the technology is consolidated, and they move on to their next targets. So, something to think about. This also connects to the Roswell crash in 1947, which was a major event to try to push the deception of space and outer space onto the people. Then the CIA is established, followed by the creation of Israel, which is one of their major goals they need for the biblical events to be pushed forward. The Nazis all turn into NATO. You can see all of these SS people work their way into all NATO key positions, as well as key positions around the world. And justification for this was the Cold War, which was the fake space race. And we had to build rockets to beat the Soviet. It's all a major deception when you understand who we're really dealing with. So then you have this Nazi Third Reich, which may or may not have been a clone war. We have to understand that if these controllers are recloning people to repopulate the world, why couldn't they make 100,000, 200,000 clone troops to do their bidding? And when you have 200,000 people working towards a goal, it's very easy to get the remaining 300,000 people of the population to go with. This is how this is always done. Then the Jewish Zionists or National Zionists moved to the U.S. and European countries to continue the world of the New World Order, and prepare for the final battle. Germans who were not Jewish were sent to be forcibly starved in the Truman Rhine Meadows death camps. Now, this could have been that they only grew clones that would only live for 5 years and they just sent them all there to die, but it was a major covering up of evidence. These Truman Rhine Meadows get death camps. No one's ever heard of this, but you have heard of the Holocaust, and there's been 40 movies about the Holocaust, but no mention of these Rhine Meadows death camps in 1945. A big red flag with everything else in our historical record. So the questions to ask: if the Nazis were really anti Jewish, why did they establish Israel and begin the fraudulent space race? Why move to the Zionist occupied country of America? Question: why did a lot of things happen the way they did? Answer: they were all pre planned. Then the baby boom happens. This was another key event to get the population back going again, to teach a new version of history and science to the baby boomers and begin the outer space deception. And this is all aided by the true purpose of Operation Paperclip, which was the creating of the television. We'll get into that more in just a minute. But the main outer space deception, the point of outer space deception, is to remove God and push theoretical sciences and made up history to the people and to prepare them for the final war, which would be the Operation Bluebeam. operation that is currently about to take place after this Third World War. So, another interesting thing to think about. Okay, now all isms, which is after this, the Second World War would take place, the new kind of liberalism and all of these isms start getting going. And all isms are connected mainly through symbols and symbolism. This is why symbolism will be their downfall. Symbolism is the main force behind the isms. All isms have a logo, and they're all pushed as a way of division and separation. From Zionism, Judaism, Nazism, capitalism, socialism, communism, occultism, liberalism, Darwinism, Satanism, spiritualism, atheism, transgenderism, mysticism, Mormonism, Buddhism, racism, fascism, patriotism, collectivism, conservatism, etc., etc., etc. All isms. They all serve the purpose of division and separation of people from God and Jesus Christ, creating a path to the 369 system and into the hands of Lucifer or Satan. When you're so concerned about all of these words or spells combined with isms, you're never going to get to the truth because you're so divided by that point. By the time you're deep in some ism, that you're never going to find the truth. And that all connects to the 369 system. If you haven't seen my video on the two vibrational codes of our realm, the 369 system and the 124875, it's a good video to kind of get your mind around how this numerology actually plays out. So if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. Now, this could be the Holocaust. This could be that the good guys won World War II. This could be the Earth is a globe. Columbus, 1776, the Cowboys and the Indians. And it's the same thing that they just repeat over and over and over again. And it doesn't matter if you have facts to the contrary, they still, it will not get into their heads. It's almost as if they're NPC type people. And a lot of these boomers seem to just never be able to break free from the conditioning of the television and the fake stories of history. So, Operation Paperclip, everything told to the public is layered in deception and trickery. Do you really think scientists were brought here to build rockets for NASA? When you look into this, and it's part of my big documentary, but the German rocket team that was responsible for the founding of NASA was like 100 people. And they brought 6,000 of these German SS officers and stuff over into the United States for their end time deceptions. Now, Operation Paperclip was a cover story for something darker, more evil, and more satanic. Now, the first thing to disclose to you, if you're not aware, is the fabrication of space and the deception of the space race. Space is fake. It's all a lie. The Masonic government of America knew this. The Zionist occupied government during World War II knew this. And Hitler and other world powers of the time also knew this. They would have had access to old world information. All of the Masonic type characters all have access to old world maps, technology, and knowledge. But science would begin to tell a new story of the need to defeat the Soviets for some reason and push all of our resources towards NASA. NASA is basically the colonization of other lands, whether that's colonization by rockets, UFO, anti gravity technology, shipping out of our realm, whatever it is. All the money going to NASA seems to really be going towards the colonization and possibly the building of underground bunkers and transit systems and all that kind of stuff. The Soviets would remain an enemy after World War II due to the Zionist occupation of America and Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip also took place during the Soviet Union, but it was very clear that the Zionists who entered the Soviet Union were the communist part of the Soviet Union, and communism is Jewish. Then the Soviet Union would crash, and this is where you see the breakaway of a lot of former Soviet states forming countries like Ukraine and all these places where the Zionists had strongholds. So the Nazis were not defeated. They completed their work. They transferred their power to NASA and to NATO, all NATO countries. And Operation Paperclip was allowing the Nazis to continue their work and experimentation to subvert and control the population and mind control the general public into obedience. So here is Hitler using a flat earth map. He knew about the hidden land and how we are all contained within our realm by an ice wall, and it is covered by a firmament or a dome. NASA rockets and rocketry, all this is a fraud in order to launder money and to devalue our currency because they would slowly get rid of the gold standard in World War One. Then after World War Two, these Zionists are all put in place. Kennedy tried to get us back onto the gold standard. They got rid of him, and soon after he was assassinated, the silver standard would also be removed. And that's when all your silver quarters and coins all disappeared, and the money really began to be inflated, and we see the world we're at today. So Hitler knew of the vastness of the outer space, the actual outer space, which lay on the other side of the ice wall, was all rediscovered when the Nazis established New Schwabenland. And I get into this a little bit more in my documentary, but there's a lot of information. You just can't be afraid where the information takes you. You have to get all information you can and form your own theory to what's going on because the theory you have is not it's not any less valid than the theories we have been given. So here are they start up this space race. Polish cosmonaut says the earth is flat. Soviet cosmonaut says we've never been to space. It's all a fabrication. You can look this up when they send up these high altitude balloons. And if you're not using a curved lens, a fisheye lens, which is a curved lens, which gives a curving effect, it's flat miles and miles up as high as you go. Now, the Bible says that the firmament is to separate the waters from above from the waters below, which it might be possible that there is oceans above us. I mean, we really don't know when the people who have lied to us about everything are the ones we rely on for the answers. So the Soviets figured this out and ended their rocket program, and then soon after the Soviet Union fell because they really figured out the deception getting played on them. And this is where America doubled down and continued to trick the people by staging a fake moon landing, and this was to justify Operation Paperclip taking place and trick the people into believing and trusting science over God. Once the deception of space was established, with the planet being a floating rock in space. And now they've added on billions of galaxies and millions of years of evolution, which is a theory, the Big Bang theory of the Big Bang. The theory of evolution. They push their theories over the truth of biblical accounts, and that's where we are now at, where anyone who questions any of their satanic science is labeled a science denier, as if that's the worst thing. So, isn't it ironic that those that control the supposed globe all use flat Earth maps? And here you can see all the major players: United Nations, World Health Organization. They all use their flat Earth maps with their flat Earth logos, and it's got this ice wall pattern around it. They all have the same kind of things. World Health Organization, you can see it's guarded with a serpent and a staff because it's under the spell of the serpents or the reptilians or the lizard people or whatever you want to call them, tricking everyone. So the United Nations, once again, or United Nations, created and infiltrated by the Nazis or the National Zionists, all using their flat earth maps. NATO is the Nazi American Treaty Organization or even the Nazi American Terrorist Organization because they would know that the newest enemy when all nations of civilization, civilized nations, are conquered, then you must resort to terrorism, and the war on terror would begin after 9/11. That's a way of always having an idea you're fighting rather than a physical enemy. And NASA is the Nazi American Space Agency, which is the National Zionist American Space Agency, because America is their military power, which it was Germany before it was America got going. So after World War II, Germany is no longer a serious threat, and the true military arm of the Zionists would be America. So here's Lyndon Johnson on Air Force One with a flat Earth map. All the Freemasons and NASA people all know we live on a flat, motionless Earth, and that is in a fixed position sealed with a firmament. They keep this deception going from um, keep us from discovering their lies and keep us from finding the hidden land. This is to create an artificial scarcity and to have a limited amount of resources and oil. And this is why we got to fight these wars for oil and all this. It's an artificial scarcity where if you knew there was unlimited resources just on the other side of our terrestrial realm, there would be no need for all these wars, and the Jews would never be able to control humanity. That's basically the secret. So here you have inner space, which is our terrestrial realm, and outer space. This is where the ETs come from. ETs are extraterrestrials. They come from extraterrestrial land or extraterran land on our flat plane. Planets are planes ET, plane extraterrestrial. That's what planets are. So when people look up to see Mars, they're looking up with a telescope and looking into the firmament, which is the waters above, which is a reflection, and then looking down at these different lands to where that's where what they're seeing. And they say planets are round, because when you look at something far away, it appears to be a round dot. If you look at a cruise ship on the horizon going out of the limit of your sight, it looks like a little dot. And then when it gets closer to you, you can see the actual shape of it. That's why they push this deception of planets being round and stuff. So there you can see the Gleason's map, the new standard map of the world, and all governments truly know that this is a strategic war map, and the distances are more accurate than the fake globe. So all of the founders of NASA were all Satanists, occultists, and Jewish. This is not a coincidence. It is and was a major step in the destruction of America. All globe science is satanic, and it's all against God and his creation. Here you can see the globe curving 8 inches per mile, which is 666.666 feet. The speed of the globe is 6,660 miles per hour, and it's just 666 over and over again. It is the culmination of the 369 system, the 33-degree masonry, the 666 is 999. When you understand the 369 system against the 124875 system of creation, everything begins to focus and you can see it more clearly. Question then arises, what was the purpose of Operation Paperclip? It was not rocketry or getting to the moon. To find these answers, we must go back to the Nazi SS, or as they now should be firmly known as the National Zionist Synagogue of Satan. The scientists knew about the world or realm we are a part of, and the next step would be making sure the people would never figure it out. And then you have the Operation High Jump, discovering the ice wall, discovering the firmament, Operation Deep Freeze. NASA is founding, knowing the limit of our realm through the Van Allen radiation belt. The Antarctic Treaty, which is the guarding of the firmament, nuking the firmament, trying to crack the firmament. and then Apollo and the moon missions to hide the existence of the firmament by staging all these things. Some of these things I agree with, some of them I don't. It just seems like it's the same deceptions over and over again. And once you identify them, you see it. So the main goal of the new NASA organization would be the mass hypnotism and drugging of the Western world with the television. This would have include all NATO countries would have the TV, and this is how this would all play out. This is when TV and radio frequency weapons are developed. The television is the tell lie vision. It's telling you lies to your face and reassuring you that it's all real because everyone seems to believe it. TV programming is programming the human mind or consciousness to become controlled. This can also connect to the programming of the NPC type, clone population people, which that's the only thing people you go to a bar to talk to people and they can only talk to you about stuff that's on TV. They cannot form any independent thought, they cannot question anything, and it's basically Coke or Pepsi, baseball or football, Democrats or Republicans. It's just whatever the TV tells them, they go with whatever they are programmed into believing. TV channels connects to channeling demonic entities into the home by opening portals within the human mind or consciousness. Early televisions sets were contained a substance known as red mercury. How and why this was used may be a mystery to some, but when you dive deep into Operation Paperclip and the Nazi experiments, answers can be found. Dark experiments were conducted in the headquarters of the Nazi SS, which was the Wilsberg Castle, which connects to the Vril Society and the extraterrestrial substance known as black goo. So, when the black goo was extracted, the byproduct left over was red mercury. This is why the manufacture of red mercury is a heavily guarded secret even today. If the people understood that the way they extract this black glue connects to adrenochrome and human sacrifice, if the people understood that they were getting all of this red mercury from human sacrifice and adrenochrome, many concerns would be made and its production would be stopped. So early TVs were conduits into the lower fourth dimension, and the manufacture of TVs was the direct result of Nazi SS experiments. Today, along with smartphones, all containing a refined black goo that can interact with our dimension and this lower fourth dimension. This may cause objects to levitate, voices being heard, shadow beings or creatures being witnessed, all connects to the black goo. And when these TVs are turned off or the smartphones are turned off, it becomes a black mirror device or a black reflective surface. This connects to demonic entities and demonic possession. The black goo is subject of the black goo can be talked about or theorized in another video. I'm going to do a whole series on the black goo, but it is the main force behind all of this. From Freemasonry to Zionism to Satanism, it's in the vaccines. It's powered by the 5G, which is the big deception. It drives the New World Order and is a physical manifestation of the 369 system. Once again, see my video on the two vibrational codes of our realm. During the Nazi experiments within the walls of the SS headquarters, they harvested this black goo from ore recovered from deep underground locations. The ore would eject the liquid known as black goo, and when combined with adrenaline enriched blood, this goo would become a liquid state. Black goo ore was placed into this type of cauldron. The harvested blood was applied to the ore, and the black goo was extracted. The black goo could be used to possess a person with demonic entities, and information could then be learned about technology or circuitry or rocketry or fuel types or whatever it was. And this is basically because the black goo is the collected consciousness of Satan or Lucifer. I'll get into that more in a specific video about the black goo. I got lots of information about the black goo, but here you can see the Wilsberg occultism, summoning demons, doing ritualistic sacrifices in order to contact these gray alien gray demonic type beings, which would then deliver secrets to these elite type people. And here you see some of this artwork within the Wheelsburg Castle. It's all black eyed, gray skinned demon people. This is what Jack Parsons and NASA, this is what they were really doing in the dark hours. This is what they're doing at CERN, is contacting these types of entities. Here you can see the Black Sun and the Ukraine soldiers all wearing the symbol of the Black Sun, which connects to the eclipses and all this kind of stuff. So all this information connects to Project Bluebeam and the final deception of outer space, aliens, and the New World Order takeover. I suggest everybody watch my previous video I did. It was a few months ago now on Project Bluebeam, 5G, and the mRNA vaccines. All connects to the information in this video. However, you will not find it on YouTube as it contains too much truth and was removed. Okay, I'm going to try to wrap this up here. The National Zionism, the Nazi Party, or the National Zionist Party. Throughout my research for the truth, I have found this connection 100% verified. If you do not understand it, I have put together so many videos where the only thing you can really figure out is that this is kind of the truth of what's going on. This is why I'm so blocked and suppressed and stuff, is figuring all this stuff out. And it's like it's taken me 15 years of researching the reptilians and all this stuff to get to this conclusion about what's really going on. So throughout my research, I have found this connection 100% verified. All this stuff is in my book. If you get the book and read it, you'll pretty much you can research every topic in my book and come to the same conclusions that I have. Now, we know those pulling the strings in most governments are Jewish and they are Freemasons or they are connected to Zionism or Zionist groups like the World Economic Forum, the Council on Foreign Relations, or they are, satanic Illuminati celebrity type people. But it's always the same type of behavior and the activities of these people is all the same. Many of these groups were founded by Operation Paperclip Nazis who, through banking and finance, control the world through debt. When you understand our history is a story and wars are a cover story for the covering up of the truth, which is the old world, the Tartaria, the mud flood, the concealing of giants and giant bones. The Smithsonian has gotten rid of hundreds of bones. The deception of dinosaurs. Why are dinosaurs a deception? Because the dinosaur bones are only found a few feet below the topsoil. The mud flooded buildings are 20 to 30 feet under the mud. The same like the Easter Island statues. They're 20 feet in mud. So the dinosaur bones cannot be millions of years if they are way above the buildings that are buried. This is what proves all of this stuff. When you see the world in a different way, your consciousness expands, and these ideas now make perfect sense. So it says I'll be making a video dedicated to the old world. I've already made this video since this is a rebroadcast or a re-editing. Go watch my video on the old world and the fall of the old world. It connects a lot of these dots, which people are just seem to now becoming aware of. Now, this is the chamber of the House of Representatives, but it is a menorah. This was planned out in 1871. They could have said the old building burnt down or whatever, but all these major UN buildings are all designed this way. They are all designed to hide the Zionist occult symbolism and their Zionist occupation. This is the Zionist controlled media. Every single high up person, they're all Jewish. The directors, the producers, the board members, the reporter, it's the same story over and over again. And people will say, well, Fox News, that's a conservative outlet. Fox News is a controlled asset. If you can understand the numerology, F is the sixth letter of the alphabet. O is the 15th letter of the alphabet. 1 plus 5 is 6. X is the 24th letter of the alphabet. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6, 6, 6. That's how this game works. And they hide this in front of people, and they don't understand that Fox News was pushing the vaccines and all the bullshit COVID stuff the entire time, right in people's face, and nobody seems to get that they're all pushing the same story. Every NATO country is pushing the same story about the vaccines and COVID. So why Ukraine? Why Israel? It all connects to the same group of people and the same Khazarian descent of these Jewish Zionist people. Hitler was not a good guy. He was not doing anything about the Jews. Everyone wants to say Hitler was right, but the Holocaust is a big hoax, and it was more likely they were protecting these Jewish people, and these concentration camps were really like vacation resorts where they had swimming pools and they played games and they were having babies in these camps. And meanwhile, all that's going on, 24 million Germans are killed. In the Soviet Union, 27 million Soviets killed. Russian descendants of Tartary killed. How many Americans killed? An estimated total of 70 to 85 million people killed. And it was probably more than that in World War One, more than that in the Civil War and these Revolutionary War. It's just constant depopulation wars, the rewriting of history by hidden hand Freemasons. Hitler was a Freemason. Hitler was Jewish. This should be a red flag. And then at the end, he gets to escape to Argentina. The same way Napoleon Bonaparte escapes to Elba Island or wherever. It's the same deception over and over again. History repeats itself. Was there a movement in Germany to inspire nationalism? Yes. Is there a movement in America to inspire nationalism? Yes. Who controls these movements? And were they hijacked? Are they being hijacked? If Trump is a Freemason and Trump is connected to Zionism with Jared Kushner and his family being Jewish, we're in serious, serious trouble moving forward towards this third world war where all of these deceptions are going to be funneled in. And then the Democrats, the Republicans, the Jews, everyone will say, we got to get together to defeat these aliens that are attacking us. And this is where the final deception will be played. All of the top governments have massive amounts of Jews and Freemasons, which are all controlled opposition, fifth column operatives. Everyone is controlled by a secret oath, secret allegiances. They write their names in blood and sell their souls, which is creating a strategic metals contract with the black goo substance for financial gains or the pleasures of this temporary realm we're living in. We must see events that are playing out as a repeating of past events. The same thing keeps happening over and over again. This is why is this happening? It's the same. People need to understand that the entire world was killed off when this great reset happened in 1500s or in 1776 or in 1850 or whenever this was, and history was rewritten. So here's Germany, and here's Germany again. They stand with Ukraine, and here's Germany again. They stand with Israel. It's the same story over and over again. Why do people keep falling for it? How do people not see it? Both of these guys, I mean, you have to understand how insane this is when you're coming from my perspective and you know all this is a fraud. And it's very easily explained as a fraud, but it seems like nobody really cares. The same story over and over again playing out. The controllers picking their puppets, creating this massive movement, and the same brainwashing of the youth through culture through the transgender move. I mean, it's all the same stuff. Drugging the population, fluoridating the water, tricking the people with the television and things like that. It's the same Masonic Zionist deceptions. If you still cannot see it, you are under the control of these people. Satan is a trans person. It's a transhuman. It's a trans species. It is a transgender. And this is the doorway and the key to the New World Order is how they're pushing everything towards this trans agenda. So it's all Masonic and it's all Jewish. The same plan since 1871 of getting their three world wars, uniting the kingdoms one by one, and reimagining them in the eyes of the Zionist Jew people or the Satanists. Germany was ran by the National Zionists. Then, just like today, America is ran by the National Zionists. And we are all under the same Zionist occupation everywhere. It's the Nazi National Zionist people. The Nazis accomplished their goal. Israel was formed. Now we see the further culmination of the Zionist movement, which is the trans movement. Once again, transgender, then transhuman, and trans species. This is where you're going to totally pervert God's creation into a creation of science, which has no rights or connection to God. The connection to God or your soul will be turned off. This is one of the main uh, purposes of the vaccines with the mRNA and the DNA manipulation, all cutting off connection to source or God. And when they activate their 5G, you're going to see everyone with this black goo vaccine in them be possessed by demonic type entities. And that's where you're going to get the zombie invasion or whatever it's going to be. It's all going to come very fast during the final days. I personally think this is going to happen before the election because they do not want their election to take place for a number of reasons. But this is not a coincidence. You are all being played by the same symbols and symbolisms. So know the difference um, between the LGBTQ plus community and the Nazi community. They both have secular religions. They both try to remake modern society, threaten free speech, assault opponents, claim to be victimized by religion, medical experiments on the mentally ill, recruits children, persuasive propaganda in media and arts, really into flags and parades. They do not both share impressive taste in clothing, but you look at that's part of the mentally ill part with the shaved heads, the piercings, the tattoos, and the wonky colored hair and stuff like that. And they're both promoted by the government, schools, public schools, academia, unions, nonprofits, Fortune 500 companies. The Nazis were pushed by all these companies at the time. So this Satan character or Lucifer or the devil or whatever is a transgendered, trans species, transhuman type entity that feeds off of the children. And then here you see the crest of Ukraine, followed by the sigil for Moloch and the Khazarian tag Tamja, whatever that is. But it's all the same symbols and symbolism feeding Moloch, babies to Moloch, doing sacrifices to Moloch, blood drinking and occult rituals over and over again. Here you see the Azov battalion with their swastikas and their black sun symbolism. It's all the Ukraine is supposedly filled with Nazis. Putin's reason for going into Ukraine is the denazification of the Ukraine, and then they pick a Jewish homosexual actor to run their Ukraine government in the Zelensky character. It's all fake. Here you see these Azov battalion people. They've got their swastika flags and they've got their NATO flags because NATO is the Nazi. It's a Nazi organization founded by these Operation Paperclip people. And it's the same symbolism and stories over and over again. the National Zionism control with the swastikas and the Star of Davids. And here you see these two, the only two people that can get standing ovations in the American House floor is Zelensky and this Netanyahu character. There's two Jews laughing it up, all feeding off of the people, and they all call you a goyim and animals and stuff because people are too stupid to figure this out. Here you see this Masonic handshake. They're both in the same Masonic type organizations of secret handshakes, secret oaths, and code words, and all this kind of stuff. And it's disgusting. But once you see it and you understand the bigger picture, you fill in the missing puzzle pieces, this begins to focus and you can understand it very quickly. So, pretty much the same things. This is the headquarters of the Nazi SS. They're all using this black sun symbolism and Nazism and Zionism. And then at the end of the New World Order, they will form a one world religion, which will be Satanism or Scientism. Scientism is Satanism. It's basically theoretical ideas pushed as fact and to get any outcome they want. So here's a tweet from the Church of Satan. They say, our founder was Jewish, and to this day we have many Jewish members. People making all kinds of claims about us, rarely based in fact. The only fact you need to know is that Satanism is Jewish. There are no Christians who are in the Church of Satan, but there are lots of Jews within the Church of Satan. Another something to think about. Is this a hidden code, hidden numerology, or is this just a fact that you must beware of the mark of the beast with the six pointed star, the six sided hexagram, and the six triangles? And if you were aware, if you put a hex on somebody and you wear the symbol of the hex around your neck, you are cursed. This is where all this plays in, is they are a cursed people and they all serve Lucifer. I mean, the U.S. corporation that we're all under is Zionist Jewish owned. Here you see them all waving foreign flags of their homeland of Khazaria. Most of these people have dual citizenship with Israel, and it's the same game over and over again. Here you see House passes $14.3 billion for Israel's security. They have passed hundreds of billions of dollars for Ukraine, and this is all for the end time deception. Here you see the King of England, Prince King Charles, and Jacob Rothschild in the back. They all wear the little hats. They all light their candles around the end of the year in December. It's the same type of stuff over and over again. Here is Joe Biden's entire cabinet is filled with people with dual citizenship with Israel, and they all have an alliance or their one true alliance is with Israel and not the American people. They don't care about the American people. They don't care how much your bread costs. They don't care if your water's poisoned. They don't care about anything other than destroying you and treating you like cattle. That's pretty much what's going on. We're all set for this Agenda 2030 with the 2030 goals of the one world government, the end of all nations and boundaries and borders, a one world army, a one world police force, the end of the family unit, the one world central bank currency, the one world cashless currency, an end of all private property, world depopulation and fertility control. That's what their vaccines, the end of home and car ownership. Or if you really look into it, you don't even own your home or your car anyway because it is registered with the government and the government owns your car and your home and your persons and your property. Mandatory multiple vaccines yearly, universal austerity income. This is where they put everyone on uh, welfare. And if anybody questions them or says anything they don't like, they cut off your money. Social media digital IDs, microchips for health and shopping and travel. This is where you're all getting into Neuralink, where everyone is going to be microchipped for brainwashing and mind control. If you haven't seen my video on mind control through directed energy weapons, you should watch that. It's all verified by facts. You can look it all up for yourself, and it is proven as factual when you actually look into it for yourself. The implementation of a Chinese social credit system, government raised children. You will basically be able to see your kids once every couple months. All businesses ran by the state. The end of non essential air travel, unless you've got a private jet. And, it's the same people, but just locking things down as we identify them as the problem. Humans concentrated into 15-minute zones or smart cities. SMART is an acronym for Secret Military Armament and Residential Technology, the end of private farms and vegetable gardens, the end of animal ownership, ban on all natural medicines, AI courts and the end of individual rights, and limited access to outdoor wild spaces, recreation areas, and things like that. All of your elected officials serve the same masters and approve the same goals and the same New World Order type policies. Seems like a big game. No one seems to care. You bring this stuff up to people, they have no idea what you're talking about. They all eat their fast food. They watch their rigged sports games. They get dumber and dumber. They never ask questions. Is this due to the fluoridated water? These are all fluoride drinkers. Is it the TV, which is radio frequency weaponry? Could be. Is this mind control through radio frequency like cell phones and the direct energy towers? All of these altering the mind and thought patterns of people is all documented through these direct energy weapons, which could be frequency weapons, radio weapons, light weapons, all this kind of stuff is all proven. Well, go watch my video on the mind control through direct energy weapons. Um, if you're watching this video, I know you can see it. I know you're questioning things, and we've got to stick together and we got to keep pushing forward, try to expose these people as much as we can before it is too late. Now, is anything being done about this? We don't know. It's very odd that they are using clones or masked actors with the Joe Biden body doubles and duplicates, and you can see his eye color changes and the ears. The lobes are attached, they're not attached, they're attached again, they're unattached. Is this part of this operation? Is there a QAnon type of thing? I'm not going to get into that, but it seems like something is going on fighting this satanic Zionist force. The BRICS countries seem to be a major part of this. Um, I mean, it's just there's so many massive things. Is Trump a real character? Was Hitler a real character? Is Joe Biden a real character? Is it always actors wearing masks? Is everything a deception in a show? We don't know, but we do know that they are kind of showing people that they are wearing these hyper realistic masks and nothing is really as it seems. There's another connection. Here's these masks. I mean, we don't know what's going on. It also could be a connection to human cloning. Now, here's a superimposed picture of the two Zelenskys together, and they look like 100% identical twins. One's younger, one's older. Is this just human cloning operations? We don't know that either. But we do know that Russia and America are the two biggest players in this game due to them being the descendants of the old world and the connection of the old world and Tartaria. But then again, here you see Trump and Putin. They're passing the ball. The ball is in your court, Mr. President. But they have both been seen wearing the tiny hats, putting their hand on the Jew wall and serving, giving full allegiance to Israel and the Zionist occupied corporation. We don't know. Very interesting. Um, there's a lot to this Tartaria mystery. One of the biggest things being the connection to Arzareth and Genghis Khan. Now, If you look up Genghis Khan, it's really a giant, white skinned, red haired guy, westernized looking guy, not a little Chinese guy. So, Genghis Khan, which was a pre Old World person, was said to be the King of Kings. Jesus Christ is known as the King of Kings. Jesus Christ, born in Nazareth, Genghis Khan, born in Arzareth. Khan equals king. Genghis, king. Jesus, king. It's something to think about is why they're so apt to get rid of Russia and America and put them under full satanic leadership. So that's a big mystery. They also said we're saving Israel for last. When you look at this little map of where Israel was, it could have been the United States before the mud flood took place. There's a lot of connections between Egypt and the Grand Canyon with melted buildings and kingdoms and stuff. It's very interesting when you look for these answers and just what other people have discovered while doing this research. So that's the end of this combined video. I took all three parts and put them into one. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you want more kind of combination videos or re-recorded videos. You can find me on Instagram at Mudfossil Research and Truth, Mudfossil Truth and Research. I'm on Twitter in the box below at Mudfossil underscore guy, Mudfossil underscore truth. I lost another Twitter account. So we'll just see how long I'm going to be on these platforms before we're fully removed. You can see this video on Rumble and BitChute at Modern American Gangster. Probably will not be uploading this to my YouTube page, Mudfossil Research and Truth. It'll probably just be taken down because of mentioning Zionists, Jews, and things like that. That will get you removed. You can get my book, The Great Awakening, on lulu.com by searching The Great Awakening, Unit 1, Timeline of Historical Events, which is the breakdown of the timeline and noting all the historical inaccuracies behind all this. The Great Awakening Unit 2, Continued Points of Study, which takes a look at more of the conspiracy type stuff. There is an e version or a digital download, or you can get the Great Awakening Unit 1 and Unit 2 combined. If you go to lulu.com and you can see the by Michael Paul Manning at the bottom, you can click on that and it'll take you to all my stuff. You can decide what you want. But here's the Unit 1 and Unit 2 book together on one large paperback version. That's really what you want to get because it's kind of everything goes in order and it really connects a lot of dots. It's a great conversation starter, and you can open this book up to almost anywhere and find useful information to help you uncover the plots of these New World Order people, get the information you need for the foundational knowledge to stand firm in the truth backed by fact. If you would like to donate, please donate to me on PayPal at mudfossil124875. I do all of these videos, edit them all together. It's really a lot of work. So any donations would be appreciated. If you have the ability to donate, please do so. And you can find me there on PayPal. Please leave a thumbs up. It really lets me know people are watching this. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, follow, share this content, leave any questions or comments you might have. And that is the end. I hope you enjoyed it and have a great rest of the week or great weekend, depending on when you're watching this.